Get that paper, told that Glock, that's how we live. Yeah, my life's a game, I pray I don't get killed. They can't believe I got the guap, this shit for real. Can't accept the fact my brother gone, I wanna kill. Yeah, I can't go for that shit don't sit right. Instead of cabin to the old nigga, I know what you live like. Ain't worried about all, just fuck these hoes and live life. I grown the drill, I'm smart enough, you gotta know how to.
The story actually remains the same, with Tanjiro and his family living within the mountains. However, that very same night that he was supposed to return to his family, a blizzard hit. The snowstorm was so heavy that he couldn't see. And looking ahead, a family friend's cabin wasn't too far from him, but he had turned his head back to the direction of his own home, thinking to himself, I need to make it back home. The others are counting on me. Tanjiro wills himself to push forward in the storm, and it eventually covers his body, causing him to fall to the ground. He can't even move as he passes out, feeling sorry that he couldn't make it to them. But while asleep, within the storm, he felt so cold. However, while everything was still, he could only feel the darkness and hear a voice. Tanjiro. 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 A familiar voice continues to call his name. Eventually, Tanjiro responds. Father. Is that you? Yes, my son. It is. Now go help them. They need you more than ever. Tanjiro pulls his head from the snow, taking a breath of fresh air and seeing the clear sky. As he was somehow alive, not believing it. He doesn't feel like he has hypothermia or anything like that. He doesn't feel sick. In fact, he feels even stronger because of the cold. He sprints forward, not even thinking. His body was buried in snow, but his strength had risen at this moment. Was this his instinct? Or maybe his own survival mechanism that was built into every human as it kicked in this moment? Tanjiro then makes it to his home, seeing blood everywhere. He had smelt it while running up, but he wished that he was wrong, just for this once. Stepping inside the home, he stood in fear as a demon was right in front of him and remained eating what was left of his family. Still, it had seemed that most of their bodies were intact except for some limbs. He then hears a small noise to his left, and it's Nezuko as she's still breathing, but just a little bit. The demon noticed it as well and stepped towards her. Tanjiro thought to himself, He doesn't see me? No, I need to save her before anything else happens. Tanjiro grabs the axe off the wall and looks toward the demon. Moments later, Giyu, the water Hashira, arrives. Seeing the boy holding his unconscious sister, he walks up to him. However, he saw the claws of the demon, who was asleep. This girl. She's a demon. Move aside. I must slay her. Giyu places his hand on his blade, but then feels something cold. It's like the air around the room had shifted. What is that? No. Could it be coming from him? Looking down at Tanjiro, he could feel the bloodlust. But then the boy speaks. I'm going to say this once, and only once. I killed whatever was in here that killed my family. I don't know what happened, but it seems my sister is no longer the same. However, I want to save her, as she is the only family that I have left. And if you stand in the way of that, I'll have to cut you down as well. Hearing these words caused Giyu to turn his head, seeing the demon that was against the wall and ripped apart, but slowly fading away. If this boy did this with no training at all, he might have the potential to become a Hashira. But just what was that cold feeling just now? Giyu tells Tanjiro that he can help him out, and Tanjiro stands up. This Tanjiro had a little more coldness to him, due to the storm freezing not only his body but his heart as well. Turning around, Giyu saw a piece of ice that was covering his forehead. Huh, that's strange. Maybe it's some sort of awakening. But if his sister has been turned, we might need to get rid of her. Looking down at the siblings, Giyu changes his mind, gaining hope. He ties the girl up, putting her in a small pouch. I'll take you to him. To who? My master. He's the only one who can help us. You have great potential as a warrior, and if you want to save your sister, you must train in order to become a demon slayer. All of this sounded like another language to the young boy, but he focused on saving his sister. Giyu guides him on a path to find Orokodaki and allows the boy to continue the journey on his own. While crossing a mountain path, Tanjiro smells blood, instantly sprinting that way with Nezuko on his back. His body moved on its own, and his mind was blank. He fell back into this zone of combat when he stepped into the house. The demon felt as if it couldn't breathe due to the coldness and sharpness of the air. What is this? And who is this boy? Tanjiro instantly vanishes, appearing near the side of the demon and swinging his axe. Severing its head from its body, the demon will continue to talk. Looking down, wondering what he should do, Tanjiro remembers what happened to the other demon. Because once the sun rose on the mountain, it slowly vanished away. So Tanjiro grabs the head of the demon, walking outside and tossing it into the light where it would be burned. Before Orokodaki could even place a hand on the boy's shoulder, Tanjiro flipped away with his guard up. Your senses are sharp, boy. It seems my student wasn't wrong about you at all. Orokodaki introduces himself to the boy and exclaims how they have much work to do and to follow him. While he states this, he also explains the true nature of the demon slayers and how his sister was turned. Orokodaki tells Tanjiro of the greatest demon, Muzan, who most likely killed his family and turned his sister into a demon. Tanjiro then explains how the demon he killed must have been a cover-up, and Orokodaki was shocked. Already, with no training at all, this boy was able to kill 2 lesser demons with just an axe, not even a blade. It seems the gods may be in our favor with another prodigy. However, that scar among his head, that must be something else. Tanjiro, was your father a swordsman of any sort? Tanjiro looked at him while walking and explains how his father was a frail old man, but he was still incredibly strong, even taking down a bear with this very same axe. Orokodaki questioned further, believing Tanjiro's family to be descendants of some sort of warrior clan who transformed to live in peace. Tanjiro can't remember anything like that being told to him, but he does claim his father might have been one when he was younger, just never told them. Although he did this strange dance, but it's all foggy within Tanjiro's memory. Orokodaki doesn't press any further, as they have now reached the place where Tanjiro will train. As Nezuko had fallen asleep for some reason, Tanjiro began his own training. The obstacle course, of course, was no joke at all. Each step was filled with another attack that left Tanjiro dodging and ducking, being hit over and over by incoming logs or arrows. Tanjiro was in for more than he had bargained for. Still, he focused solely on his incoming future. If he couldn't complete this, then he would never be able to save his sister, who was counting on him. Continuing ahead, Tanjiro kept going no matter what it took. Months and months began to pass before he would even get halfway down the mountain consistently. Once he began to make that progress, everything else began to flow. Then began his training with Orokodaki and on the blade. Getting bested every time by a master was frustrating to Tanjiro, but he remained positive, only focusing on the good that he was doing. Time continued to go by unexpectedly, as soon he was facing his final challenge. Orokodaki walked him over to a large boulder, telling Tanjiro to split it with his own strength. Orokodaki then vanishes from the area, and Tanjiro prepares to swing. However, someone catches his hand, asking him a question. Why do you seek strength? Tanjiro looks forward at the teen with a fox mask on, asking who he was. Then, he punches Tanjiro and unsheathes his own blade, which was actually a wooden blade. Tanjiro notes that that punch was powerful, but he has to block this next slash that was incoming. Answer the question. Why do you seek strength? To save my sister. The boy in the fox mask begins to jump back towards the rock and points this wooden blade at Tanjiro. He's going easy on me, isn't he? And wait, who is that? He then sees the girl as they would introduce themselves. As the girl states she is Makomo, while the boy states his name is Sabito. From this point on, they will train Tanjiro, as Sabito exclaims that there is no way for Tanjiro to control the tides of water and master its breathing style. He states Tanjiro has something greater within him to master, and through their battles he will unlock it. Thus began another stage in Tanjiro's training that went on for some time until their final battle was set, as this time, Sabito reveals his true katana, telling Tanjiro to ready himself. Tanjiro takes a deep breath and focuses on what was right in front of him. To win here was something he needed more than ever. Rushing forward, each of them swings their blade, but Tanjiro's reaches first, and Sabito's mask is cut off. Our protagonist then turns his head to see that the boulder had been split, and he looks around for the duo, but he can't find them at all. So instead, he thanks Sabito and Makomo for helping him out and conquer the coldness within his heart to become even stronger. With that being done now, Tanjiro returns to Orokodaki, exclaiming he was ready to take the final selection. A custom outfit was given to him with snowflakes on its robes, as Tanjiro headed off for the selection, more ready than ever before. Arriving to the area where the test would be held, there were many in attendance. The beautiful area astonished Tanjiro, taking his gaze away from everything but the scenery around him. The siblings in front of him explained to the participants how the test worked and how they must survive until the sun rises once again. Tanjiro claims it shouldn't be too difficult and enters the forest without a second thought at all. Taking a step forward, Tanjiro notes how usually when he was younger, he'd be tense in similar situations to this, but now, his heart was calm. This is when a demon from behind a tree jumps at him, but was sliced in half by his katana. Tanjiro then runs ahead while defeating demons in the forest, not allowing himself to take a break or anything like that. While walking later, he comes across the hand demon, which was larger than most and stared down at him. The demon began speaking, noticing the style of the robes, saying how it must be another student of Orokodaki, causing Tanjiro to get serious. Now, we can take a break here, as I did forget to say this in the beginning of my video, but within all my Demon Slayer what-ifs, the breathing techniques are real, and so are the effects. It just makes my all-around story more enjoyable for me and you. Back to it. As the demon continues to taunt the boy, ice begins to surround the area, eventually covering his feet, not allowing for any movement. Frost breathing. Fifth form. Frozen wasteland. With the surrounding area fully being covered in ice, the demon could do nothing. Noting that this one was different from the rest, so he prepared to attack, but instantly lost sight of Tanjiro. The boy had already appeared on the tree branch behind him. Second form. Snowstorm barrage. Cutting through the demon with ease, Tanjiro begins looking at it while it retaliates, attacking him back, so he begins running on its arms while slicing through them, cutting the demon all over its body with the second form. It could do nothing, as the ice slowly began to cover its body. The demon, almost at one point, couldn't move at all, not even its arms. This is when its head will be sliced off, and it slowly begins fading away while looking at Tanjiro. Be set free from everything that you have done. Rest easy. You don't have to hurt anyone else. The demon for some reason began crying, thanking Tanjiro, and he continued to make his way through the forest until the sun began rising again. As he returns to the starting point, to only see that a few others had made it as well. This is all who passed? But how? Tanjiro then wishes that he could have saved some of them, but now was no time for that. They began choosing their ore that would be crafted into a blade, and then they were also given their crows. Returning back to Orokodaki, he was excited to see that his sister was awake. Not only that, but Orokodaki was happy to see him returning, saying that this was only the beginning for the young boy, as he knows what he needs to do in order to become even stronger. A couple of weeks fly by as the blacksmith would bring his sword. Tanjiro then focuses on the hill as they would all stare. He was so zoned in he didn't even pull out the blade. And then, as he finally unsheathes it, pointing it to the sky, it turns black, shocking the two of them as they note that this was a bad omen. But Tanjiro still believes it was a sign that he'll be greater than ever. He thanks the master and his blacksmith for believing in him, and he gathers his things, beginning to get ready to head out into the world. Tanjiro begins his travels, and his crow soon finds him. It alerts him of a nearby village where a demon is there, and he must slay it. Running towards that direction, he would soon arrive, hearing the rumors. Different people stating that at night girls were being taken and never heard from again. Here, Tanjiro was more relaxed and laid back, staying hidden and analyzing the rumors and the leads that he gains. Beginning to follow the direction of the demon's scent, Tanjiro was preparing himself for a battle. At night, as the girl was about to be taken, Ice then creeped into the room and froze the demon's arms in place. Not this time. Slicing his head off in a quick move, Tanjiro believed the battle was over. However, more demons came from dark holes that appeared within the walls. There are 2 more of them. Tanjiro, more focused on what he needed to do, had to block one, but still, his blind side was open. This is when Nezuko came to his aid. And Nezuko would actually continue to protect the girl while Tanjiro leaps in after the demons, having to hold his breath, now being encased in some water domain. He blocked attacks from either side as he was constantly being hit. Tanjiro noted that this would be troublesome as he can't hold his breath in this area forever. He needed to think quick of something to do right now. Tanjiro then watches as both of them come at him to land the killing blow. Instead, he takes a breath, yelling, "Frost breathing, 5th form, frozen wasteland." Within the entire battlefield of water that was around Tanjiro, turning into ice, the demons are forced to flee, and Tanjiro is able to chase after them onto dry land, which was basically the surface once again. However, each one of them has a piece of ice that was now on their body and slowly began spreading. This was just an effect of being hit by his frost breathing attacks. Tanjiro takes a step and the air around him begins to shift. Suddenly, each demon respectively drops to the ground and begins to fade. Tanjiro then stands over him, with his face bruised and his body cut just a little bit. He smirks as the townspeople appear, hearing the commotion. However, he vanishes, going to grab Nezuko, preparing for what could be next. As while he awaits his crow, Tanjiro continuously trains to master frost breathing. And while training, his crow appears, stating how it's hard to get in contact with him because he's not easily found. Tanjiro wonders what he was talking about, but then was given his next mission, to head to Akusa, Tokyo. Rumors of a demon hiding in plain sight were there. Tanjiro nods and begins gathering his things to head that way. When entering the city, Tanjiro was blinded by the bright lights and all of the distractions. To find a demon in a place like this would be nearly impossible under the normal circumstances. Still, he takes Nezuko away from the crowd and goes to get her a snack. They continue to eat and enjoy it until Tanjiro's nose picks up a familiar scent. It gives him quick flashbacks to the day where his happy life had changed forever. Knowing what this was, he remembers what Orokodaki had said to him. The demon you killed was not the one who turned your sister and killed your family. That could only be done by one person, the king of demons himself, Muzan. Knowing what he must do, Tanjiro then dashed that way with Nezuko following. It was now or never. This is where he needed to go. As Muzan walked down the street, he felt a chilling sensation. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before. Well, anything he had felt in the last 1,000 years or so. Then turning around to see the boy with those earrings. No, it couldn't be. Even now, that man still haunts me. Tanjiro then noticed the baby within his arms. Not wanting to attack an innocent child, Tanjiro scoffed as Muzan stated he must have the wrong person or something like that. Though, when Muzan took another step, he tried to move, but his foot was trapped in ice. How pesky. I'll have to speak to Doma about this. He then breaks the ice and turns one of the civilians walking around into a demon that begins attacking the people as Tanjiro is forced to hold him back while not drawing his blade. Damn it, you coward. Don't run away now. Not now, when I have you right where I want you. Muzan continues down the street and gets a glimpse of the earrings once again. This is when the 2 other demons appear to help Tanjiro as he follows the boy, leading him to the hideout where the 2 would introduce themselves as Lady Tamayo and Yushiro. From here on, these demons explain their purpose, and Tanjiro respects it, explaining his own and his desires to save his sister. With their goals now being aligned, it's up to their own research in order to save the demons and turn them back into humans. But studying their blood is truly the key. With demons, with the high concentration of Muzan's blood, will further their research. Knowing that, Tanjiro leaned up, sensing that something was off. This is when Tanjiro took a step back, grabbing his blade and unsheathing it, as he ends up blocking attacks with a wall of ice, as the Tamari balls continue to bounce around the room. However, Tanjiro dashes out, running towards the arrow demon. As this goes on, the Tamari balls bounce around and begin heading towards him. He flips around one of them. However, he lands on an arrow that sends him back into the air, allowing him to be hit. Tanjiro then coughs due to the impact and then spins around to block another punch. These two were incredibly fast. I might need to. Right before he finished his next thought, Nezuko appeared to his aid. Nezuko. Alright. Well, that makes this easier for me. You'll handle her, right? Nezuko would nod, looking at the girl in front of her. Alright then, let's do this. Tanjiro then rushes forward, and his blade creates an ice wall, and the arrows then head towards him, but he spins around the wall and continues rushing forward. He continues to counter, and as this goes on, Nezuko was having her own face-off against the demon girl using the Tamari balls. As it seems, she was overpowering her and winning against the demon. Tanjiro, though, was caught by one of the attacks by the arrows and then stabbed through his chest while being pinned against a tree. The demon then brags in front of him, but Tanjiro then smiles and breaks into ice. From behind him, the real Tanjiro had appeared. Frost breathing, sixth form, crystallized reflection. The after image that had created an ice almost replica of Tanjiro threw the demon off, as he was now paying the price for it. Tanjiro will be able to slice off the head of the demon, and then falls to one knee, feeling the exhaustion from the sixth form. Not only was it an after image, but it was almost a complete ice clone of himself. While on his knee, he turns to Nezuko to see her winning the battle, causing the demon to mention Muzan's name, and for the curse to take effect on her body. With the battle now over, Tanjiro and Lady Tamayo established their plan, and Tanjiro, along with his sister, head out of Tokyo. With Tanjiro traveling and getting closer to another area, his crow alerts him of another mission, while coming across another demon slayer. This one seemed cowardly and was trying to get a girl to marry him. Tanjiro watched this interaction and almost laughed, causing the demon slayer to turn back and yell at him. Tanjiro then begins laughing, introducing himself, and Zenitsu continues yelling as well. His crow would also give details of the mission, and the two travel together, reaching the house that smelled like blood and demons. Seeing two little kids on the outskirts of it, Tanjiro questioned what had happened, and they begin talking about their brother, who was taken in by a demon out of nowhere, and they haven't seen him since. However, they've heard strange noises coming from inside this building, and there was also some music being played within it. Tanjiro questioned the music, and the little boy exclaimed that it sounded like drums, but he wasn't too sure at all. Tanjiro then claimed to them that he would save them, so he gets ready to head inside, with Zenitsu calling him insane. But Tanjiro draws his blade, knowing that he couldn't waste any more time, as their brother needed to be saved. This is when another man flies out of the building, but was caught by Tanjiro. He leaves him there, and then heads inside where the drums could continue to be heard. Flipping him into a different room, Tanjiro was confused, and then he realized that it was a blood demon art, just like the Tamari balls or those arrows that he faced a while ago. While walking, he eventually comes across the missing child and tells him to stay near him, no matter what happens. Eventually, the two would hear footsteps from his side, and then he noted that the demon had drums covering its torso. So that's the demon that brought you into this place. The boy nodded, and Tanjiro then focused further. Alright then. Running out, he would swing his blade, but it was blocked, and then he was sent back by the demon. As soon as he would go to take a step, he was flipped onto the ceiling and hit his back. Slashes then headed toward his face, but Tanjiro flips out of the way and will grab the boy as well. While standing, the demon looks towards Tanjiro and attacks him, using his drums. Tanjiro then continued to face the demon. However, his attacks were stopped by the hand of the demon catching the blade over and over. This goes on for quite some time, until eventually the demon goes to tap the drum, only to realize ice was covering his palm, which would catch him off guard. So this whole time, that's what you were planning. Tanjiro was then seen running towards him. First form, Ice Slash. The demon was able to evade, but Tanjiro yells out that he's not finished just yet. Second form, Snowstorm Barrage. Multiple slashes head towards the demon and forces it back to block with each hand. However, from each slash, Tanjiro would counter, and he continues to speed up. Not only that, but when the blade makes contact, it leaves shards of ice on the demon's body. Out of nowhere, it becomes hard for the demon to even move. Tanjiro then flips away and stares at him. It all ends here. The demon notes that he no longer has the strength to continue fighting, let alone even move his frozen arms. Fourth form, Winter's Breath. Tanjiro blitzes the demon, and it sends a chilling flurry of ice that covers the demon's entire body. Tanjiro would sheathe his blade, causing the ice statue of the demon to shatter into crystals. May you rest easy now. The demon was now defeated, and Tanjiro was exhausted. Taking some damage from the constant attacks, he now needed to escort the boy out of the building. This is when he makes it outside to see Inosuke beating up Zenitsu, who was actually protecting his box. However, this is when Tanjiro places his sheathed blade onto the ground, which causes ice to cover Inosuke's feet, holding him still while they question him. Inosuke would still try to attack them, but he couldn't do anything, and they would eventually all come to an agreement, as later, the three were all seen resting at the elderly woman's house. Knowing that a new mission could be assigned at any moment, Tanjiro stepped outside to look at the moon. Remembering his encounter with Muzan, it angered him that he couldn't do anything. Why did he hold back in that moment, when he could have killed him? No, these were all foolish thoughts. If he was truly the king of demons like Orokodaki had said, then there was no way for him to kill him in that moment. Instead, he's just lucky to have survived. But one day, he promises to defeat Muzan. Tanjiro holds up his hand. Until we meet again, I'll become strong enough to slay you and free Nezuko. The next day would soon arrive as the trio begins their travels with Tanjiro's crow, telling them of a new mission that they would have. Multiple demons have been spotted on this mountain, and the current demon slayers that were there needed reinforcements due to the demons being high in rank. This shocked the three of them, as they wondered why a Hashira hasn't been dispatched to that area. But the crow states that all the Hashira are currently busy, so these three were the closest to the area, so they need to head that way as soon as possible, as the battle was going on as they spoke. Soon, the three of them would reach the base of the mountain after traveling for some time. The trio would debate if they should wait or go in. However, Tanjiro was already heading inside without a second thought, and Inosuke was right behind him, not wanting to be left alone because he wanted to prove himself that he was stronger than Tanjiro. And Zenitsu, not wanting to be the last one outside of the forest, headed in as well. Inosuke and Tanjiro would make it to some area where some of the demon slayers were being held up by strings and webs. These were the same demon slayers that began attacking the duo, causing Tanjiro to sigh. Using the fifth form of Frozen Wasteland, he was able to stop them, and Inosuke jumps into a tree not to be caught by the ice covering the ground. Tanjiro would then look around, trying to figure out where it was coming from. But this is when we see how fast our protagonist truly is. Using this ice and his mastery of his forms, he performs the second form to cut down as many demon slayers as he could, basically freeing them from the control of the demons. But still they weren't useful at all because of their broken bones. Using this as his chance, Inosuke would be able to jump down, trying to track down the demon who was taking control of them, while Tanjiro would hold off the other demon slayers who weren't free, as those were the ones who continued attacking him and the other demon slayers who were on the ground injured. Dodging their blades, but then sensing something, as if someone was already watching him. Inosuke then jumps down, telling Gunpachiro to use him to kill the other demon controlling their allies. Tanjiro ignores the statement about his name, but then runs to Inosuke, being thrown into the air. Seeing the mother, or the spider mother, Tanjiro prepares to cut her down with his aerial attack. She prepares for the worst, but then suddenly, snowflakes would cut through her body, as she doesn't feel any pain at all. Only her head gracefully hits the ground as she looks to Tanjiro, thanking him for freeing her from this horrid family. Meanwhile, Zenitsu was fighting his own battle against one of the demons who was freaking him out as he continued to run away from it, not wanting to begin this battle at all, eventually knocking himself out, having to fall asleep to awaken his true self and take advantage of his surroundings. As we go back on to Tanjiro, who regrouped with Inosuke, as the two had found the demon sister preparing to attack her, only for the demonic father to appear. His large stature threw them off, and they flipped away. Tanjiro rushed back in, swinging his blade, but it was blocked by the demon. However, ice covered its arm. The demon then looked at it, and then slammed it against a tree, breaking the ice. And it caused Tanjiro to be confused, as this hasn't been seen before. The demon then grabbed a tree that had fell, and then sent Tanjiro flying. Inosuke claims that he can handle this himself, but Tanjiro states while midair that he'll be back soon. Using the ice, he breaks his fall, and Tanjiro now stood right in front of Rui. The two would end up going back and forth in a conversation about what true family is. For Tanjiro, it only angers him, and he tightly grips his blade. Rushing in, the strings retaliate, trying to stop him. Tanjiro flips over them and cuts through some others, getting close to Rui, but then being sent back into a tree. More strings would approach him, however Tanjiro narrowly avoids them. Rui calls Tanjiro a pest. While still attacking him, Tanjiro continues to avoid and block attacks to the best of his ability, but notices that he's being overwhelmed, obtaining scratches and cuts all over his body and face, noting that he's incredibly fast. So this is the power of a lower ranked demon. Rui's speed was on a whole nother level that Tanjiro hadn't faced before. Gaining the distance he needed, Tanjiro could only think of one thing to slow him down. Turning the battlefield into a snowy, icy ground, Tanjiro rushes in to attack. However, the strings still pose a threat to him, so he must avoid them, and right as he was about to get caught in an attack, Nezuko counters for him, which causes Rui to be angry due to the bond that these two shared, even when they were different races, with one being a demon and the other being a human. With their battle now continuing, Nezuko is eventually webbed up, and Tanjiro is forced to fight alone once again. With not much left in him, his sword being cut and broken in multiple places, Tanjiro begins to lose faith. This was until he sees his father standing right in front of him. His father told him to protect his sister. Do not yield in the face of an adversary until his very last breath. Control and concentrate on his breathing. That will give him victory. This vision of his father begins performing their family's flame dance, and Tanjiro's eyes widen. With everything on the line, he performs the Hinokami Kagura on instinct, dodging and weaving through the strings while creating flames. When more appeared behind him, they were set ablaze by the blood demon art of Nezuko. Not only that, but ice began covering parts of Tanjiro's body, while flames mirrored it on the other side. With so much on the line, he sliced off the head of Rui and instantly fell to the ground, barely awake. This time, Rui's body began to vanish, and he didn't need to be saved by Giyu. Tanjiro coughed up blood, stating that he couldn't even breathe right now. Focusing enough to pull himself up with his blade, it breaks on trying to support his weight after this tough-fought battle. Before he falls, Giyu catches him once again, looking at what was around him and the demon that was now fading, as that was the lower-ranked demon that they were told about. He then turned to Tanjiro. Well done. He would also see Nezuko running away from Shinobu until the crow's request that the trio return to the bases of the demon slayers. Tanjiro would look at Giyu before passing out with a smile. His body felt so hot and cold at the same time. It was a feeling that he never had before. And what was that he used? His father's dance created flames? But how could that be possible? All of this felt like a dream to Tanjiro while he was unconscious, but that was his reality that he would be waking up to as he was tied up, facing all the Hashira and the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, Kaguya Ubuyashiki. I hope you all enjoyed Season 1 of What If Tanjiro Had Frost Breathing. At first, you may think this story won't change as much, but I have some pretty cool changes planned for the following seasons. So drop anything that I may have forgot or anything else you want to see in the next season. If you do like what if content and want to see more like this on my channel, like this video and consider subscribing to the channel. My name is Zero, and I'll catch you all on the next one.